But the question I was going to ask, because I do think there is some relations for this to this part of it, is if your friend comes up, you guys are close and everything like that, do you have expectation to kind of go along on that ride with your friend? Right? Like if y'all was kicking it, y'all was, rolling together, and all of a sudden your friend is doing their thing and like taking trips and traveling or whatever, right? Do you have some level, or is it wrong to have some level of expectation that maybe you'd be a part of that in some way, shape, or form?
I think it's wrong to expect that just because your friend is going places that they're going to take you. I think because they could take anybody, right? And they probably have other people that they have to take. I think it's great if they take you. I think it's flattering. I think it's probably going to be a better experience for both of y'all if you're along for the ride. But I think it's on them to bring you along for the ride. And I think if they're going places that you can't afford to go, then yeah, they should pay for you if they're inviting you to those places, right? But also if they're going places you can't afford to go and they, for whatever reason, haven't budgeted to take you, I don't think that's a flaw on them. I feel like what I owe my friends when I'm successful is to try to find ways for them to be successful, or even try to find places for them in my success, but not just to bring them along because I'm going and hey, I want you to come. I mean, that's great. I can do that, but I don't owe anybody that. I only owe I only owe consideration and love and respect. And everything else I give is a blessing and a boon. So yeah, when I make it, I'm gonna try to put all my friends on. I'm gonna try to find jobs for everybody where they're not being paid by me. We all making money. That's the plan. But just because I blow up, I got lots of people I'm close to, but I'm not taking them with me everywhere I go when I'm a millionaire or whatever. For why? I'd be like MC Hammer. He's the greatest, I think, lesson for that. Like Hammer put everybody on his back, and then they wore him down, and then he couldn't support anybody anymore. It's like everybody's back in the same position they were in because they just kept draining Hammer, and he kept trying to support everybody, but one person can't do that.
So it's actually interesting because I was going to bring up MC Hammer as the worst case scenario because those people who he was supporting was not really his friends, right? Because he put the whole neighborhood on his back, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's the difference. Like people like Luda or LeBron who had their friends come and support them because they made them the chef or they gave them manager positions and so forth. I think that's the more appropriate route. And so as somebody who has friends who actually do make way more than I do, is one of those things where I don't expect them to do anything for me. As a matter of fact, if I get an opportunity to be in the same room, like sometimes they're like, hey, I need you to come to this event and you can meet some people for networking purposes or whatnot, right? And I'm like, oh man, cool. I'm excited. I'm thankful and so forth. And so it's one of those things where I'll get in where I fit in. There's no expectation for me to do so, for them to uplift or pull me or any of that. I'm just thankful when they do and they think like that. I personally, though, because of who I am, my first thing is going to be like, hey, let me see how I can put you on. Let me see how I can extend my circle to bring you into where I'm at because I want you to succeed just like I'm succeeding, especially if you're not succeeding. Now, there becomes a point where you may have to recognize you need to cut somebody off because they're not doing what they need to do to stay within the group. I'll put it like that. When I say group, I mean as far as that exploratory grinding and so forth, right, to get where they need to go. And so, but that's just me personally. As a matter of fact, I had somebody ask me, like, what if you won the lottery? What would you do? And the first thing I was like, I thought about all the people who I wanted to contribute and give money to just for the purpose of uplifting them because I know they have business plans. They're trying to get that off the ground, but they don't have that. So the investments, opportunities that I'm looking at, if I was to ever win the lottery or whatnot, And so, but I think that expectation still needs to be defined, but there's no real expectation for folks to say, oh, where I'm at, you're at. It'll be nice. Thanks. And, but that's just me,
I hear y'all. I don't know. I want to say I agree with y'all. Especially as a person, like if you're talking about like, money stuff, like I don't have expectations of other people, period. It's full stop. But I'd be lying though if I feel like there wouldn't be some expectations in some way, shape, or form. I hear what y'all saying because it sounds like, we don't expect shit from anybody. But I don't know. I don't know. Like for example, let's say like if you had a friend and they were having a big event, right? Even if that person genuinely did invite you because they didn't think you could afford it, you might still have had the expectation of being invited. So what I'm saying is that I get that I feel like there is a scenario where I could see having an expectation of a friend who happens to be rich, and it could be that the transition changes the expectations before you're aware of it. And then it's also like a new journey for both sides necessarily, right? Because I find it hard, like if I'm a person and I think, man, as soon as I get balling out, I'm bringing everybody with me. I get that y'all differentiated between, I'll give you opportunities, and I get that you have to have some separation because you can't give everybody an opportunity. You brought up the hammer example. But that's also different than literally bringing people with you. Like for example, Woody. He's one of the first people I know that the minute it's gone and popping, I'm literally bringing him with me. I got stuff that we can do together. Period. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know I literally actively reach out, try to connect with and build just on the business shit. But I'm saying, once I literally get into the position, you have to fuck up to get outside of my grace to a certain extent. Like, that's my mindset. Because number one, I have a limited number of people I can trust. So again, I'm saying as a person who moves that way, would I have no expectation for other people? I don't expect a 1-to-1 ratio. But again, if I call you my friend and I know this is how I show up as a friend, where's the reciprocity, right? Because I'm going to just show up as my everything and give you everything and not have any expectation whatsoever. So I hear y'all, but I just think as human beings, inevitably, we do tend to have expectations for relationships that we define, for those that, especially those that we care about. And I notice because people be having expectations that are outsized, unfounded, and they have no basis whatsoever, but they still have them. So it's like, you know what I mean? So I hear y'all, but I just think that it's fair for people to have. Now, how you respond to those expectations or the unspoken expectations, how you deal with it. And that's why I kind of bring it full circle before we get up out of here and with some final thoughts, is the fact that these two young ladies were having the conversation is the kudos that I would give to them, and probably more so on Shekinah's side, I guess, because she was being open about what she had went through. I think it's easier to do, obviously, after you've gone through it. But these conversations aren't probably happening enough. And when they do happen, it gives the person an opportunity to really know whether or not they were really friends in the first place. And I think because like, it may not be money. It just shows up in other ways. I expected that my friend would support me this way, then they don't. I expected they would show up for me in this way, then they don't. Let alone if they actually take actions to purposefully not do so, right? So
Facts.
I think when it comes to people you call your friends, even the rich ones, right? Even the poor ones, you're going to have some level of expectations. And I think it's going to be hard sometimes to navigate between whether or not those expectations are rooted in funds or finance or whatever. But I hear y'all.